All right, and we are live. Greetings, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Deconversion Stories. Today, I'm talking with the amazing Jim Majors. Now, if I remember, Jim, you were part of Atheist Republic at one time, were you not?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, that's what I thought.
The CEO.
Oh, okay. And are you still dealing with them, or have you kind of parted ways?
Yeah, no, I resigned from Atheist Republic. I guess it's been almost 2 months ago now.
Okay.
Yeah, and now I'm just working on my own channel, which I'm launching pretty soon.
Yeah, I do have a link to that, guys, by the way, in the description below. He corrected me. I had the wrong link in there for some reason. I'm old and dumb and I forget.
No, it's not a problem. I mean, there's nothing up there, so I mean, it's not like they're going to be going there and seeing some awesome content yet. But there's nothing.
But it will be.
Yeah, it will be. It will be awesome.
All right, so Jim, what I do here on the show is I talk to people about how and why they left their beliefs in the dust.
I thought we were talking about beer.
Well, no. I don't even have any for this one, which is unusual. So I drank it all at my sister's place on the weekend when I was talking to Hopswatch.
Fair enough.
So, when you're talking to a guy who does a channel that's all about beer reviews, it kind of goes with the territory, right? So I kind of drank it all, and at the end of the night, my sister was like, "You know what? Go to bed. You're drooling on yourself." So, so it was pretty funny. So take us back to sort of, I guess, when you first sort of realizing that your beliefs might not be what they were, and what led you to becoming an activist today.
Oh gosh. At a very young age, I realized by studying the Bible that the God that I thought was God wasn't really God according to the Bible, and I was feeling misled, and so I set out on an honest journey to discover who God was, and the more that I studied, like the more I was challenged, and but I really grew in my faith for a while from the age of 14, I'd say. And I grew in faith so much. Well, at the time of 14 is when I decided that I wanted to be a pastor. When I decided that I wanted to preach. And I was that annoying kid.
That's pretty hardcore, man.
Every day, man. But man, it's really hard to draw a line where I started to lose my faith. But I very quickly developed my own theology, I guess. And I want to be really careful about saying that, because it wasn't really developing my own theology, but I guess it was just bettering my understanding. And I feel like most people were what I call going through the motions of being a Christian. And
right. The no true Scotsman fallacy type thing, or
basically, well, not necessarily that, but they just they believe that because I found that people couldn't when you would ask somebody, what is God? Does he have a body or something like that? People who have believed their entire lives suddenly can't answer a question about as simple as, does God have a body? And they,
right.
I mean, it's just, and I felt like that was a foundational belief. I started thinking to myself, what do I believe about God? And I found that it was so just vague and didn't really have any description to it. And so that's when I really decided that I needed to study the Bible, and I needed to get right with God, so to speak. But after a point, I actually started learning the ancient Greek and Hebrew, and started, really getting into the, what did the different copies say? Where the textual variants here, and just really getting into textual criticism and apologetics at some point.
Right.
And just really trying to make sense of it all, because I found that the more that I learned, the more that I was challenged, and the smaller that my God became. And it just came down to the point to, I had lost my belief in the resurrection. I lost my belief in miracles, generally. And I had lost the idea of heaven, of the pearly gates and the streets of gold and the mansion waiting for me in the sky and everything else.
Which would be awesome, really.
Well, yeah, it should be great. Just the fact that that God would love you so much, that he has this place prepared for you, in heaven.
Now, do they have realtors up there? Or
no, I guess God's the only realtor. He's kind of like the slumlord millionaire.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So what are you drinking, by the way?
Shiner Bock.
Oh yeah, okay. Wow.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I've actually had it before at a local place around here.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's surprising.
This place that I go to gets the craziest shit from the smallest little breweries from all over North America. So, and Europe and stuff too.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got stuff I've never even heard of, and I'm like, whoa, that's pretty good actually. So, all right, carry on. Sorry, I sidetrack sometimes. It happens.
No, I was reading a comment that said no true mustaches, and I look over and I saw Richard Wood, and I had to chuckle to myself immaturely.
No true mustaches. Hey, these are real, mister. Okay.
Yeah, this is true.
And apparently the Geek Room wants to know. The Geek. Hey, before we continue, the Geek Room wants to know what you think about Milo.
No, that's okay. We don't need to talk about that.
You've been told, Geek Room.
Oh no, he went on to the Whirly podcast, and whatever I didn't talk about the time before. There's a long list of topics that Frank from the Geek Room would have to answer on the next one, and so I just gave him all the worst possible ones that I could think of. Milo being one of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Good stuff.
All right, you guys, let's let him finish his story before you start firing questions out of me.
Oh, and so at this time I was preaching when I started to lose my faith. About the last 2 years was when I really struggled. I lost, like I said, my belief in heaven already, and had even lost my belief in the Holy Spirit. And I don't know if you know anything about Pentecostalism, but it's very spirit based. Everything revolves around the Holy Spirit, around baptism of the Holy Spirit, as a witness of your salvation. And it's strange, but the last belief that I lost was my belief in hell. For some reason, that's what I held on to so long and
you're not
struggled
the only
with.
one. I hear that a lot.
It just it was on a Friday night, I believe. I just broke down, and I prayed one last prayer, and it was I just said, guys, I can't do this anymore. You know my heart. You know what this is doing to me, and you know that I am seeking you with everything that I have. But I just anything, God. Just I need to know that you are here. I'm really struggling. This is too much. I can't do this, and it was just overwhelming, and just broke down, and just asking for anything, and nothing. And I cried myself to sleep that night, all day Saturday. Just up, just I don't know, just in shambles, really. And I was supposed to preach the next Sunday, and I decided that the best thing to do was for me to just quit and to semi come out to my congregation. I told my congregation that Sunday that I didn't believe in God, and that I loved them. And I have my my coming out letter. It was really hard. It was really, really emotional. A lot of family, a lot of friends. And I guess looking back at it, I think like, damn, Jim, like really? Like, you're just gonna come out in front of everybody like that? You know? Like,
Go big or
what were you
go home, I
thinking?
guess. Eh?
Yeah, I mean, I was just like me now is looking back at the gym then, and I'm just like, what were you thinking? Like, and I can't I don't know, I can't really put into words, you know, how relieving it was. You know, I still sought God after that, even though I didn't believe. I still sought Him for a while. That didn't mean that I didn't want to believe in God or that I didn't want to have justification for it, but I just couldn't consciously go on preaching, having people tell me every Sunday, you know, Brother Majors, I really felt that. I felt the power of the Holy Ghost. You know, I really believe that God is talking to you. You know, God told me to tell you, you know, that this message was meant for me. You know, it's
Wow, you hear that from them quite a bit, or?
well, you know, with Pentecostals, you know, there's really a connection with the church. You know, that they believe in healing by the laying of hands, by laying hands on people and praying for them. And they believe in a very quasi spiritual praise experience, and it's all the Pentecostals just they celebrate it as one. You know, there's very rarely anybody in a Pentecostal church who's not going ape shit during praise and worship. You know, and
yeah,
they just
I've seen many videos and people get pretty worked up and jumping around and
oh yeah,
hands in the air, and yeah, it's
it
pretty
gets
amazing.
crunk. My favorite videos are the ones that take the praise and music, the praise and worship music off of there, and they put on some heavy metal. You know, just like, yeah.
I think I've seen one of those. It's pretty funny.
Oh, it's great. It's great. You see him. Oh, it's good stuff.
And then the death thralls happen, and they're just like, oh, sounds more like they're worshiping Satan than God.
It's pretty funny. But yeah, that's about it. And I eventually stopped seeking God and started trying to educate people on what I had learned thus far and to continue learning. And I'm still study the Bible to this day. It's still my favorite book. That hasn't changed. So
what made it your favorite book?
It's always been my favorite book. My whole life.
But do you more look at it now as like a book of mythology, like you would like the Greek texts or Roman texts and stuff like that?
Yeah, but to me, it's so much more than that. For one, there's a cultural significance, and two,
sure,
there is and there is some there's a lot of sentiment there. You know, I mean, like I said, I was that annoying kid who would bring his Bible to school, and after I finished my classwork, I would crack open the Bible in my notebook, and I'd be writing a sermon. You know, I preached my first sermon at 9 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, that was
like starting that early. Wow, that's incredible.
Well, and of course, you know, my parents, they ate that shit up. Like they fully supported it. Like they were, you know, like, what are you doing? You know, you doing your homework? No, I'm working on a sermon. Oh, okay.
Little applause in the background. All right.
Right.
Well, I mean,
and then just like looking back, you know, like at old notebooks and things like that, and you know, looking at how awful my understanding of the Bible was. You know, it's just it was hilarious, but and it was crazy too that they would foster that they were okay, that they didn't care that what I was writing or that how I understood the Bible was wrong. You know, just as long as I wanted to be a preacher, that's all they cared about. They didn't care that I was going to be a good preacher or a bad preacher. Like, you know, they just okay, you're gonna be a preacher, cool.
So would they, as parents, in my case, like my parents, they would always double check my homework just to make sure I was doing it right. And I was just curious as if your folks did that kind of thing and then double checked your sermons to make sure you had things in order, or did they just leave you to your own devices?
Yeah, no, my my parents, they insisted that we go to church every Sunday, but
Okay.
they themselves were not practicing at home. You know, there was no open Bible or anything at home, and for some reason, you know, I just took to it. You know, I loved going to church, and I was the only one in the family who would read the Bible outside of church. Basically, we'll put it that way. And this was as a
Wow.
very young kid.
You were the family holy roller.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, and even to this day, even though I'm no longer a Christian, you know, my grandma will call me, or my mom will call me, or you know, a family member about a question about the Bible. You know, somebody who's a believer, and they'll ask me because they know that, you know, while I'm an atheist, you know, I know my shit. You know.
I find that actually kind of funny that they would say, "Hey, what would be the best source for me to learn something?" I know. I'll call my atheist relative. He'll know.
Yeah.
So, have you had, like, once you came out, because you said you kind of came out on a grand scale, did the people, like, of your congregation and your family members, did they shun you at all at first, or are you still on fairly decent terms with pretty much everybody?
I mean, I heard a lot of people, you know, I mean, it really, I mean, especially like the older people in my family, the more, way more fundamental side. And they, you know, I felt like I had let them down. I'm sure that they felt like, you know, that I had let them down. And,
Sure.
but yeah, I mean, even to this day, there's many family members that won't speak to me. But I mean, but everybody that day, though, everybody that day, you know, they hugged me, they loved me, they cried, you know, they cried with me. I was crying too, you know, and they told me, you know, that they loved me and they would pray for me, and you know, and I felt the sincerity in that, you know, even though I no longer believed in in the effects of intercessory prayer working, I still
Right.
you know, I still felt the love, you know, but that love quickly faded when they realized that I wasn't coming back.
Wow. I guess maybe when you first told them, they thought maybe there was hope.
Sure.
Or something. It's one of the hardest things, I guess, for me to wrap my head around, because when I eventually came out to my family, they were all like, "Oh yeah, well, whatever. You coming over for Passover dinner?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay, no problem." But
oh no, I got disinvited from
who doesn't like matzo ball soup?
Yeah, I got disinvited from Thanksgiving, Christmas.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to wrap that around. Like my family, I guess I grew up, you know, with a family, regardless of beliefs. Most of them were fairly secularish anyways, so this wasn't a huge surprise to them, and they it seemed like it didn't faze them for me. But there were a couple that were kind of became standoffish whenever there were gatherings. But so to me, it's really foreign that family would just like kick you to the curb, or friends would kick you to the curb just because you've changed your beliefs. That just seems hard to swallow for me, and I can't imagine what anyone would go through that. So my heart for you, man, because that's not a fun place to be, and not an easy place to be.
Thanks, man. Yeah, there's a lot that I've come to terms with, and what's great is, I mean, I do have some relationships that I've maintained, and oddly enough, from the Pentecostal side of the family, they are the more secular ones, the ones who weren't practicing, you know, the ones who weren't at church every Sunday, the ones who, you know, in Pentecostalism, women don't wear pants; they wear skirts all the time, and you know, it was like my aunt, you know, who would wear shorts, you know, and she was cool, and everybody thought she was a lesbian because she wore shorts, you know, and cut her hair, you know, that's a no. So I mean, and you know, her and I, you know, we still have, you know, I still love her, you know, she still loves me, we still talk, you know, everything like that.
That's good.
Yeah, but they won't argue the Bible with me. That is one thing that nobody in my family like brings it up as a topic. Like they just.
Well, they know you know your shit, and you can now counter it. So it's all
Right.
There would be like a futile effort. It'd be like going up against the Borg or something.
Sure.
So,
Sure. Well, and
it's just
there've been developments within my family. My dad is an atheist. There's
Mhm.
I have cousins that are atheists now, and I have many members of my family that I'm talking to right now, who they'll message me sometimes daily with these questions. Say, well, what about this? What do you think about this? And they're getting excited about it. They're getting excited about learning the Bible, and that's what I love. Even if they don't come to atheism, I'm just glad that they are seeking the truth. Whatever their personal truth is, I'm just glad that they are seeking it. I'm glad that they know why they believe what they believe in the end.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, I've heard people say that in my own experience, and eventually they do. They study and study, like you're suggesting to your cousins and stuff that ask you these questions. Check it out, see what you think, and I'm going to tell you, probably about 80% of the people that have ever had these sorts of discussions with me, in the people that I know, most of them end up leaving it behind because they come to that realization that it just doesn't make sense, right? It's just
Sure.
There's things in here that just seem contradictory to what reality demonstrates. So
yeah,
a lot of them end up. Maybe 80 might be a little high because but at least 70% of them are turning towards atheism, and they're now asking me if they can be on my show and stuff. And I said, well, let me get through people that I don't know first, so I can get
awesome,
to know
man.
people.
Yeah.
This is just another way for me to, because these stories, as you know, as we've talked before, like just chatting and whatnot, that they interest me, and I think they're important. I think they have to be heard for other people that might be in a position where they're kind of teetering and they're on that, and they might want to hear what it's like for people to leave and what happens to them. So that's why I kind of do this, and it gives me an excuse to get to know some of the people that I've grown fond of and made connections with in our community. So this just seems like ideal for me, and I'm a chatty guy, so this just seemed like the right platform format for me to take, was to talk to people about why they left it all in the dirt, right? So,
Sure.
which is why I do it. And I'm always appreciative when people like you agree to come on and talk to me, because most people can be a little intimidated by my presence in reality, real life sort of thing. Not that this isn't real, but it's virtual. But so it's always great for me to that people are a little bit more feel a little bit more at ease once they sort of start talking to me and realize that I'm not some big scary creature. Right? So,
no, not at all.
well, I mean, I'm if I put my biker boots on, man, I'm 6'5", so that could be fairly intimidating.
Cheese and rice.
Yeah. And
Wow.
I'm 200 and something pounds, 240 pounds, I think. So
I'm not that tall. I'm 5'11", but I'm about 230.
I got well, mine's I don't have a six pack anymore. I got a keg. So
I don't have a six pack. I think I've taken 2 out of it.
drop down to a smaller pack. Sort of.
Yeah. I just got I can got the carrying rings. I only got 4 beers left.
Insects! Holy crap! You stand next to me, you're gonna look like I'm something that I'll lean on you. She says she's only 5 foot. Wow.
A heavy metal teddy bear.
Yeah. Well, I guess maybe we could say that. Somebody called me like the lost brother of Aaron one time. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty close.
Yeah, Aaron's pretty.
All right, so yeah. And when I see objectively Dan at Faith, and we've already talked about this.
Oh my gosh!
We're gonna have to stand back to back, and we're gonna see who's taller. I'm gonna cheat and have my boots on though, because I think he's naturally 6'5". You guys like the friendly giant.
Yeah, and he's super nice, but yeah, he is tall as crap. It's funny to see him and Genetically Modified Skeptic next to each other.
Because Bruce's pretty short, yeah. Yeah, I've never really had much interaction with Drew, so I'm really looking forward to shaking his hand and chatting with him at Faithless Forum.
You're gonna be at Faithless Forum?
Yeah, man. I told you that.
Wait, did we already talk about this?
Well, it was via the Twitter Messenger. I think, or maybe I said something as I was watching you in somebody else's show, and I might have put it in there, and I think you respond. I can't remember, but I thought I mentioned it to you. I don't know.
Cool.
It's
awesome.
you get to be my age, and the memory starts to go. So I don't know if I actually directly told you or not. But,
yeah, I'll be there too.
Yeah, see, and I knew that, and I think that's what we kind of accomplished in our. I could check our
sorry.
chat. I knew you're going to be there, which is going to be cool. We're going to have to toss a couple back together for sure. I'm pretty sure. See, I got a VIP ticket, so I'll be involved with the dinners and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of us like Ocean, Keltoy, and Shannon Q and Paula Gia. They're all going to be there too, and we're all like sort of yakking amongst each other. Like, I think we're going to be fairly drunk for most of this. So, because everyone's like, let's go have a beer together. Right? Even Eric Murphy and stuff was talking about that.
Yeah, I didn't get a VIP pass, but hopefully everybody else will let me hang out.
You know what? Sure they will. Come on. We'll take a marker and I'll write VIP on it. And yeah, look, he's VIP.
Right.
I don't even know what the hell the whole VIP thing means, other than you get to have dinner with the people that were speakers.
Yeah, I know there's a dinner, and there's maybe like a meet and greet before.
Could be. I just hope they don't ask me to get up and say something, because I'm pretty nervous in crowds when I have to talk about stuff. But you put a microphone and some vocals and music in front of me, it's a different story.
Right.
Yeah, I'll just sing my story. You know.
You got karaoke at Faithless Forum.
Yeah. There's a couple of guys that were trying to rally for me to get my band down there so we could perform a few tunes. And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen this year, but I'll put in an idea for maybe a future one, and I can get the guys down there. Once we get another bass player, because we're like Spinal Tap, but with bass players. They just seem to either disappear or whatnot, right? So
that's funny.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about when you were with Atheist Republic. Like, you were the CEO, and I guess did you or Warman at all? Or
I'm sorry, you're saying that what?
Oh, sorry. With the Atheist Republic stuff, did you work closely with Armin at all?
Yeah, worked really closely with Armin.
Did you? Because he never answers anything that I ever post to him. So I kind of I would love to have him on here and talk about his story too, because I know it's a good one. And I'm sure most people know about it anyways, but he's an interesting guy, and I'd love to have a chat with him, but I don't really I think he thinks of me as like one of those mosquitoes that you just keep swatting away. Like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, he swats pretty much everybody away. Once you get a hold of him, it's fine, but it's just getting a hold of him that's the problem.
Right. Well, he's a busy guy, so it's not surprising. I mean, he lives here. Pretty sure. Yeah, he lives here in my city in Vancouver here. So.
Well, yeah.
So there you go. We're like almost neighbors. I'm in one of the suburb areas of Vancouver, but a place called New Westminster, because it's much better than the old Westminster. Sorry, David.
Right.
All right. So what kind of things did you guys did a lot? Like, did you guys do a lot of rallies and stuff? I noticed that Armin was involved in the Gay Pride Parade here just this past summer.
Mm-hmm.
And he was holding up a sign. He was like the guy that was holding up the sign that says Allah is gay and stuff like that, which I thought was brilliant. And he got a lot of really good responses to that from the crowds, it looked like. So let me know a little bit about what was your guys' main sort of focus for Atheist Republic? Because you're like worldwide. So did you guys organize a lot of things worldwide where atheists could get together and
we didn't ourselves organize it, but we facilitated that. we gave people the tools to have that, to where they could join up in their own local group and meet up with like-minded people. And it was just a way of getting people, and then they would make their own meetups. We did encourage meetups, but as far as like planning it or anything like that, we didn't do anything like that. We did do, which was the last thing that I was able to put through before I left, was the first annual Atheist Day was on March 23rd.
Yes.
And so that was really really great. We felt like a really big accomplishment, and I was really happy with the way that turned out.
Yeah, a friend of mine who partially designed my new face logo thingy, Thomas Bear, he was he was one of the guys that helped to get that going too.
Yeah. Thomas is the one. He helped plan an event in Austin.
That's right. And he says, I booked a hotel for one of the nights I'm going to be there at near the convention, or near the Faithless Forum. And then I said, well, I'm going to head down to Austin so I can sit in on the talk even and the Atheist Experience and all that and meet everybody. So Thomas, you're going to put me up, right? He's like, yeah, sure. You can sleep in my recliner. I'm like, okay, good. That'll be perfect.
Right on.
Because I'm going to be down there for probably like 5 days. So.
Yeah, Thomas is a really, really nice guy, and so is Eric and Jamie. They're all great people.
That's good. That's good to know. Maybe they'll let me sleep in the library. Because I didn't book any other hotels, but I'll figure it out when I'm dead. I'm one of those fly off the cuff kind of people. So I never script anything. I never make those solid plans. I just like to go and then figure shit out as I go. That's just
that stresses me the fuck out, man.
See, I love it. I thrive off of it. I always, of course, I have nothing to gauge this against, but I always think that they just end up being the best results when I do it that way.
Fair enough.
Or the funnest, anyway. So, who in the community down there have you actually met face to face?
Oh, you talking about Faithless Forum or down in
Faithless Forum, or any of the stuff that you've been involved with, like hunting, people like that.
Gosh, I mean, I don't know. A lot of people. Seth Andrews, Aaron Raw, Jamie Boone, Eric Murphy, Thomas Bear, of course, one of the volunteers for Atheist Community of Austin. Met all the people who work with Atheist Community of Austin, all their volunteers that they have for their lighting and sound and everything. Those are all awesome people. I met Dan with Truth Wanted, and Drew. Thomas Westbrook. Thomas Westbrook's a great guy.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
Yeah.
You were a co-host on Truth Wanted, were you not?
Nope.
Oh, I thought. Why do I seem to think that you were?
No, but
I might have suggested it.
I haven't been, but Dan, what's up, dude?
Yeah, Dan. By the way, I'll be interviewing Dan's girlfriend on Wednesday, just so you know.
Oh, awesome.
I was supposed to be. I hadn't penciled her in, and then when I was talking to Ansgar, I completely forgot that I had her scheduled for that day. Ansgar Odinson is another friend of mine. He's a polytheist, actually, but so I kind of penciled him in, and then Christy reminded me, and I'm like, oh shit, I've done this a few times now where I book, but people are usually generally understanding, so I moved Ansgar up to the 11th of May. So his interview then, and I'll be talking to Christy on Wednesday, also known as Star Gazelle on Twitter. Yeah, it should be pretty cool. And I'm sure Dan will be hanging out in the chat for that. So you can jump in, Jim, and start putting them. Come on, get me on the show, or I'll put in a good word for you. Well, you'll be seeing him at Faithless anyways, so we'll just have to tackle his ass and get some in there. Because the artwork that he has this lady Jenna do for him is phenomenal. That's why I kept it, because I just thought, holy shit, that looks just like me. And everyone's like, wow, yeah, that's a great comic representation of you.
Oh, is that your avatar, your little your profile picture?
Yeah, that's the one they used for when I co-hosted the show with them. I want to redo that someday because my internet cut out like 20 minutes into it. I managed to come back, but I missed a good chunk, so that kind of sucked.
Right on.
Anyway, yeah, but it was a lot of fun, man. So I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I'm really
Normally,
excited for Faithless Forum to see everybody that I haven't met yet. You know, like I haven't met Shannon or Paul yet. I'm really excited about meeting them.
good people.
Yeah.
I was upset because Mike, aka Godless Cranium, isn't going to be down there. So I said, all right, I'll tell you what, I'll wear your shirt while I'm there. So he'll be represented in print.
Right on.
So I'll wear his shirt on the day, which I actually just got in the mail the other day. I like to support channels and stuff like that, so either through Patreon or buying some of their merch, whatever I can do, because I think it's important that we use our voices to be heard. And our numbers are growing, so there's going to be louder and louder and louder dins coming from the atheist community.
Yeah, I'm excited, you know, about people who are proud to be atheists now. You know, I like just on Atheist Day, just to see people coming out. You know, if you didn't know what it was, you would think it was just another park gathering. Just seeing so many people that you wouldn't take two glances at, you know, and you know, just like an elderly couple with their little lap poodle, you know, or something like that. You know, it's just like, wow, you know, it's just really amazing to see everybody coming together and standing up and you know, being proud to not believe.
Yeah. I think people are starting to become less afraid of being out and about it, if that's a good way to put it. But they're not afraid to be loud and proud anymore, it seems. So, and I think that's fantastic. Oh, sorry, I have more people tweeting me or sending me messages on Twitter. I just lined up a couple of more chats, so they're coming back to me finally. Yeah. Well, normally after these things, man, I do an after party hangout. You know, a few friends jump in. That if you're up for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Well, why don't we? Is there anything that you might have missed that you want to get out about the deconversion part? Or did you pretty much nutshell it? Or
no, yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know. I mean, you know, I do a lot of debates now. That's something that I'm really passionate about, and it's usually about textual criticism, something about the Bible. It's not just the generic, you know, is God real or something like that. You know, I really like debating the hard topics. You know, like is there a
truth of the
historical
resurrection? Right.
Yeah. I just want to educate atheists, because one thing that I realized coming to atheism was that, wow, a lot of these people have some shit arguments. Like this is this is awful. And so like we got to do something about this.
Yeah, and that's why we appreciate people like you, Jim, to smarten us little bastards up. Not the word bastard, but you know what I mean. I make fun of everybody, so quit yelling at me, people.
Right?
If you can't make fun of yourself, which I constantly do, then you don't have the right to make fun of anyone. And listen, when I always tell people, you know, if I'm making fun of you, it's because I like you. So there you go.
Well, good. That's good, man. No, this is it's been a lot of fun. It's you know, I find it harder to talk about my deconversion than about you know, what I'm doing now. You know, because I've come such a long way from where I stopped believing that the scales are tipped so dramatically the other way. But I remember a certain time, you know, where, you know, like you're walking towards the center of the seesaw and it could go either way, you know, and it's kind of precarious and you're not sure which way you're going to go. And now it's just so funny to see how the odds are stacked against the other side. And then it's wild.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No doubt. I was sort of in this similar position myself too, where it could have, you know, I could have just stayed or completely left, and I opted for the other one. Especially when I started to do some digging in, not just like the Torah and the Pentateuch and the Old Testament stuff, but they also have the Kabbalah, which was, I started flipping through some of this shit, and that's like, for those of you who don't know, it's basically it's Jewish mysticism.
Yeah, exactly.
and it is absolutely insane. Some of the stuff that they talk about in there, and I think that's sort of the book that puts
compared to
me.
what?
Well, I mean, just all the other books. Like, it just takes it to a whole new level of this just can't be. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, and because one of my friends was into it, and so I figured, I'll check it out, and I got into it, and we had to talk about it. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, I get the whole tree of knowledge, life thing, or whatever, with all the little whatever the hell they're called. I can't remember off the top of my head, but a lot of the stuff, like, you can pass up this tree to be with God in specific ways, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, I don't understand how that's even possible, considering most of the people I know consider God to be some immaterial force.
Right. Well, and that's one of the things that Pentecostals got a lot of crap for is, they had a different idea of the Trinity. They didn't believe in the Trinity. It was the Pentecostal oneness, where it's the Godhead expressed as three different persons, whereas the Trinity, it's a whole
three different.
Yep, that's an argument will be going on for thousands of years. I think that it's a common saying amongst pastors and in the church, that if you think you understand the Trinity, you don't.
I'm okay with that. I don't. I hear so many versions of it, so for me, it's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
But my whole position is, any and every religion ever produced by mankind is just pure mythology. That's just my stand on it.
Yeah.
So when people want to take me on in debates about, well, let's debate about creationism versus evolution, I'm like, dude, there is no debate. Like, go away. Like, take your nonsense elsewhere.
Well, I don't like that creationists have done that. They've created a dichotomy where it's one or the other. It's like, no. Let's debate, is creationism real? Like you can use the whole debunk whatever, but I don't need evolution to debunk creationism. It's not necessary.
True enough, and I'm right there with you. Like, it pretty much debunks itself just by some of the order of things happening. Exactly. That alone, I mean, right? So.
Yep.
Right. Well, why don't we jump into an after party from here? And Jim, dude, thanks so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you and getting to talk face to face, all awesome facial hair back and forth.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, man. No, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for having me. This is a lot of fun. It's really interesting to kind of revisit this and reminisce and see how far I've come. So thanks.
Yeah, no worries, man. My pleasure. It's I love hearing these stories, and like I said before, one of the things that I really like to find out is, how did your local surroundings take it, and how you've dealt with it since, sort of thing, right? So,
sure,
because it can be pretty heartbreaking. Some of the stories that I've heard are pretty heartbreaking. So, it's even for me, and I'm choking back, like, oh my goodness, like I just want to reach in and hug people sometimes because of some of the shit that they've had to deal with.
Yeah.
Because I was lucky in that fashion, I guess. So. Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, thank you very much for joining Jim and me today. We are going to jump to an after party, and probably I have to run and change my load of laundry, and I'll probably have another cigarette before we get going. So it'll probably be within about 10 minutes, which allows you to refresh your beverage if you like, Jim. And I really have to pee too. So not that everyone needs to hear that, but yeah. So join us for the after party in about 10 minutes. Thanks everyone for tuning in. And once again, Jim, thanks. It's been a pleasure. And I can't wait to shake your hand at Faithless Forum and toss a couple back with you.
Looking forward to it, Neil.
Yeah, for sure. And remember, guys, what I always say at the end of this, they call it faith because it's not knowledge. See you guys next time.